Up next on The Big Room.
I wish they ended part 1 with the worm ride. And then we had more time to do things in part 2. Or
They
thereabouts.
did kind of, right? They ended with a worm ride, just not his worm ride. Which I've got questions about that whenever we want to get to it.
I have so many answers. I spent the first couple
like why?
Why? Also, how do they get off?
That's my question.
Well, no, all right, I'm
break
done,
their
but
necks
I'm
getting
stuck on this.
there, like the whiplash, that thing's going so fast. Like you're
All
just
right.
gonna whoop.
Let's do this. Hey, spoiler alert. This episode's about Dune.
Dune.
And we're going to be talking about not only the movie, both part 1 and 2, but also the book. So if you care about spoilers and haven't seen this, you're an idiot. Go watch it. Now that's out of the way. Welcome back to the Big Room. We watched Dune part 2 last night.
Yes.
We watched Dune part 1. Nick watched part 1 last night.
I watched it. I watched part
You're a
1
madman.
the second I got home from work. It ended with just enough time to get in the car and drive to the theater.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It was.
We watched it last week.
That's a lot.
Last weekend.
Yes.
It's actually on in the living room right now. It's on the
I know
television.
I want to watch it, but I can't because I'm here.
So
So
it's 1 million hours long. It's like 2 hours and 45 minutes, I think,
Yep.
part 2. Part 1's an hour, 2 hours and
not as
2.5
long as
hours.
a Scorsese movie.
That's not true.
Bow, bow.
Combined?
No, we're talking about Dune Part 2.
Combined, it's 5 hours, 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's 2 different movies.
I want extended editions,
Still
but
half
Denis
of the
doesn't-
Irishman.
Denis doesn't do those. Format-wise for the show, I really don't have much of an idea. So I've read the book. I'm the only one of the 4 of us who has read the book. I read book 1 and 2 of the book 3 years ago, right before part 1 came out. I literally finished. David gave me a cutoff. He's like, I think it's going to end here. I literally finished part 1 right before Dune part 1 came out. And I finished part 2 last Thursday, so a week ago. The book is incredible. It's the hardest book I've ever read because, I mean, Frank Herbert's inventing sci-fi, kind of. Like, he's just making it up. So, and the way he chooses to not describe anything at all is kind of crazy. Like, he just drops all these terms, Gom Jabbar, Kwisatz Haderach, all that stuff is like right in the beginning. Bene Gesserit. All that stuff is right in the beginning of the book, and it's none of it is given context. So there's an appendices, there's like a dictionary in the appendix in the back. So you are constantly flipping, like it's a 2 bookmark book, one to hold where you read and one to hold in the dictionary.
That's wild.
So the first probably 150, 200 pages, you are constantly flipping to the back. And like you're encouraged not to Google anything because there are spoilers. Like they mentioned the mouse Muad'Dib early. Because it's in like the studies that that Paul's reading about the planet before they go there, before they leave Caladan. But if you look it up, you'll know, oh, that's Paul's name that he chooses for the Fremen, and you'll get way ahead of yourself. And there's a lot of things like that. So if you're an audiobook person, there are companion apps that you should get as to not ruin things for yourself.
I love that it's that way. I could never get through that.
You could now because you've seen the movies, so there's not
That's
as much
true.
mystery. There are still things, but you know,
Did reading the
Did we
first
take
half,
a lot of the, oh yeah, go ahead.
Did reading the first half of the book and then watching the movie change how you read the last half of the book?
it did because I could place faces to names.
Yeah.
That helped a lot. So like, you know, when I hear Gurney Halleck, I'm picturing the actor.
That's cool.
So that was nice. I will say like the visions I had of Paul in my head were different than Timothée Chalamet, and then I had to like retrofit Timothée Chalamet.
Who did you envision?
I don't know, just someone younger than him, really.
Okay.
Because I believe Paul
He still looks young. Like I can't place an age on him really. Like I know he's probably late 20s or mid 20s, but he could also be 16. Like I can't really.
I could be wrong.
I
And
can't really tell.
this is another disclaimer. I read the first part of the book like 3 years ago, so I'm going to get details wrong. But like from what I remember, Paul was a teenager in the beginning of the movie. And also like part 2, one of the things that had to get thrown out for movie's sake is part 2, the movie takes place over 4 years in the book. There's a 4-year time span. So it's not just that quick. Like, it's not that quick.
I thought they did a good job, though, of making him feel older towards the end of the second movie. Like, his hair is a little different. His eyes had turned blue. Like, he felt different, older.
So I guess one way to look
He'd
at
gone
it.
through a lot.
Well, Carl, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to ask you earlier, you were talking about the books, and I was going to say, like, do you think us having seen the movies now, do you think that takes a little bit of, like, the wind out of the sails if we went to read the books? Or do you think it's still kind of there?
What I will say is, I have been trying to read The Lord of the Rings for years. It is very hard because Tolkien is a very hard writer to read, because he will, you'll be reading, and then you'll run into 6 pages of Sam singing a song, or 3 pages of Tolkien describing a flower that Sam is looking at. Like, it's a little bit tedious in that way. It's world building and it's really nice, but it's very slow paced. But I find I obviously saw the movies first. I feel like most people our age have seen the movies before we read Lord of the Rings, if we've read it at all. And the changes from the movie are kind of hard to swallow at times. Like Frodo before he leaves the Shire.
The reverse.
Yeah. So, like, you know, after Bilbo's birthday, Gandalf leaves. Frodo's in the Shire for
Hey, no spoilers.
He's in the Shire for like 30 years before he leaves. Now, there's nothing that egregious in the books. I like the book significantly better than I liked these 2 movies. And part 2, I felt like had more departures from the book than part 1 did.
Yeah.
I also
talked to my brother, who's also read the books, and that was his consensus as well.
I also wish they ended part 1 in a different place. I wish they ended part 1 with the worm ride. And then we had more time to do things in part 2. Or
They
thereabouts.
did kind of, right? They ended with a worm ride, just not his worm ride.
Well, they end walking through the desert, and
Desert
you see
power.
someone riding
Yeah.
a worm right at the end. Yeah.
Which I've got questions about that whenever we want to get to it.
I have so many answers. I spent the first couple
I'm just like, why?
Why? Also, how do they get off?
That's my question.
Well, no, all right,
I
I'm
think
done,
their
but
necks
I'm
getting
stuck on this.
there, like the whiplash, that thing's going so fast. Like, you're
All
just
right.
going to,
Let's do this.
Like-
Before we get into part 2 specifically, do we have any, like, worm riding? Do we have any general Dune questions or confusion?
I'm trying to think towards, like, so the first one, the Emperor tells Llewyn Davis he's got to go to Anaki.
Jesus. First of all, the Emperor's not in the first movie.
He tells that, but he
Visually.
sends the word that.
Yes.
Yeah,
So the Harkonnens have Arrakis before we start Dune, and
those are the bald white guys.
Yeah. The Emperor gives Dune to the Atreides, I think in part because the Atreides are too strong. They're getting too powerful as as a part of their federation.
And he's intimidated by that?
And the Emperor's bummed out about it. Yeah, he's intimidated by it. So he goes, he basically goes, if I give Arrakis to the Harkonnen, there's going to be a war between the Harkonnen and the Atreides.
Yeah.
That's
He's
inevitable.
like an actually shrewd Palpatine. He's actually,
and he knows that it'll weaken both parties. So he's like, that sounds great. I'm going to do that. And he gives Dune over. The Harkonnen get recalled. The Harkonnen sabotage the spice like machinery.
Yeah.
So that under the Atreides, this is mentioned in part 2 and part 1, spice production falls. And they get pressure from the Emperor on that. And Duke Leto, before they even leave, is basically like, hey, the only way we're going to get around this, because we're getting sabotaged, we're walking into a trap, I know that, is by befriending the Fremen, and hopefully they can help us both fight off Harkonnens and with spice production. So
Jason Momoa's character was sent on like a recon.
yeah, Duncan Idaho
Like,
was sent.
okay.
He was sent first to befriend the Fremen.
Right. Okay.
Because the Harkonnen were trying to stamp them out. They thought there were 50,000 Fremen on the planet. There's actually millions. They come to that realization in the first movie once Duncan returns. And he's like, hey, there's a bunch of these. They live in sieges, and there's tons of sieges around the planet. And a lot of them are in the south, which is uninhabitable, in air quotes, because there's big storms on the equator. The big sandstorms on the equator that take out the ships and stuff. So
Okay. And what was the dad's name again?
Leto.
Leto, he knows that the Emperor's kind of doing this too.
Yeah. Oh, he knows.
But he's like,
Not
okay.
initially.
But he's kind of like the Ned
he does.
Stark. Like he's kind of like this honorable type where he's like he's like unassuming a little bit, or does he know? Like
well, they're less barbaric, but yeah, he knows because I forget what the line is, but in the first movie, he's got a line where he's like, "We know, like he's not stupid."
Okay.
Yeah. There's lots of other things around.
The Harkonnen,
Yeah.
they seemed really bummed out though at the beginning
Of course.
that they're like they don't understand this big plan,
Yeah, Raban specifically is like,
which is why
furious.
I thought maybe that they didn't know going into it.
They don't know what the Emperor's plan is.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have no idea.
Well, that was my
The
point.
Emperor's just like taking this from you and giving it to this guy, knowing that the Harkonnen would be pissed off and retaliate.
I mean, it's still like
But the
shameful
Emperor,
to have it taken away from you and given away. Like in the eyes
That's
of the
true.
other houses, that's embarrassing.
but the
That's
Emperor does lend the Harkonnen the Sardaukar to help take the Atreides out, which
Yeah.
is the Emperor's real goal. Is I want the Atreides smashed. So, and the Harkonnen are on board because they
And
hate
guess
him.
what? That was a success. They gone.
Well,
Atreides at the end of the first one is pretty much all dead.
yes and no, but the Harkonnen at the end of the second movie are 100% exterminated.
Yeah.
There are no Harkonnen left at the end of the movie.
Oh, I didn't get that from the end
Yeah,
of this movie.
all the dudes you see at the end are Sardaukar.
Yeah, well, but there's still Harkonnen on like the planet. Well, I guess there's still Atreides on the planet too.
Yeah,
So never mind. Yeah.
I think I don't
There-
know how
there's
the
remnants.
I don't know how the planet populations work. I would assume that Getty Prime still has Harkonnen on it, but as far as the leadership and the army goes,
Leadership's been
there's
wiped out.
none left. They kill them all, and the Sardaukar are the only guys left. So
That was the only thing that was kind of hard for me was distinguishing between. You just said the name and it's already out of my brain.
the Harkonnen and the Sardaukar.
The Sardaukar, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like
I have struggled so much with names.
it's like in Star Wars. There are
I've been doing Poe Dameron and Llewyn Davis. I've just been supplanting other
that's
things
gonna
that I
tell me.
know.
It's like
I
in-
know. I'm holding back. I'm like, all I want to do is and like just supplant names. I'm holding back as much as I can.
It's like in Star Wars, there are Sith. They're the real bad guys. But then there's also the CIS Federation with all the droids. And they're not the same thing.
Okay, yeah.
One is an arm of the other. So they're both bad. But yeah. Same thing with the Sardaukar and the Harkonnen. But yeah. Imagine reading it and having no visuals.
Yeah, that's something.
God, yeah.
I'm trying to think of what else. So there's a couple things.
Well, were we gonna have
Well,
other
there's the
questions?
voice that we're introduced to.
Yeah, the
I'm trying to think of
voice
like
is-
as a newcomer, what else was like kind of a new
Worm
thing? Like the
questions.
worms was different. Yeah, the spice. So they say spice is for space travel.
yeah.
right?
So think of
But, like,
spice.
why? I can't remember why that was like such a necessity.
I forget what they call it. They call it different things, but in essence, it's hyperspace fuel. So you can't go long
Okay,
distance.
so it's a fuel
Yep.
source. It's not just
Yep.
a drug. Okay,
It is a drug too, but it's a fuel source.
Yeah. Okay.
It
gotcha.
enables them to do space travel.
There's no other way to do space travel without that.
No, not in this universe. No, and Arrakis is
Okay.
the only place that has spice, as far as I know.
So when they found that, I was just like, "Oh shit, gold rush!" And everyone's just
exactly.
Like, Fuck, okay.
It's a 49ers gold rush.
Yeah. Oh, I will say, I also really liked that there was no guns because of the shields. It made it irrelevant.
You are
right?
smart.
That was
Because
that
that's
was a really
a big
cool
question.
change.
It's a big question lots of people have is why don't they just shoot them? And it's because a slow blade pierces a shield and bullets are fast.
Bullet won't.
It's like, what's that liquid that's like the harder you hit it, the harder it gets. Or
Non-Newtonian
whatever.
fluid.
Yeah, it's like non-Newtonian shield, right?
How the hell do you just
Why did you
know
know
that?
So he had it holstered and ready.
I knew exactly as soon as he started talking. I knew exactly.
This
what
is
he was
like
gonna bring up.
this is like 2001. It's like a hard
Oh my
sci-fi.
God.
Like everything has a reason. Everything's justified. Like it was such
Frank
a breath
Herbert
of fresh air.
invented sci-fi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say it's the
more or
opposite,
less.
but this movie reminded me of 2001 a lot,
Yeah.
Yeah,
especially the second one with the baby.
When were these written?
1960s.
Oh yeah, with the baby, I was like, God, if they remade 2001 now and like did it perfect, it would be such a spectacle.
so good.
Like in IMAX. Oh my God.
Oh, I want to talk about the Bene Gesserit because they sprinkle in Bene Gesserit lore throughout, and it's in passing sentences, and you can totally whiff it. So Bene Gesserit are doing eugenics. They have spent generations and generations basically manipulating empires to get the best bloodlines possible.
Until it gets
To get the Kwisatz Haderach. That's their point. It's like, hey, we need to control these bloodlines so that we can get our Messiah figure. Now their plan was to have the Harkonnen and the Atreides marry and have an offspring become the Kwisatz Haderach. The plan being Fade Routha and the daughter of Jessica. And Jessica, in her arrogance, went, I can produce the Kwisatz Haderach. So she had a son. And
so that's just a thing they can control. Like, I'm going to have...
Yeah, absolutely. They can control the gender of their baby they're going to have. 100%.
I mean, I don't know why everything else in this movie is fine, but that shocks me. But
well, it wouldn't shock you if you had read, because their powers are so crazy and the book doesn't, or the movies don't really.
I've got a few questions there. Does it ever go into in the books how they bred the Mentat, like how they made people like that? Like,
Mentat, no. Mentat are, well, yeah, I think so. I can't remember because it's really early, but Mentat are like, just think if C-3PO was a skin person. And that's what a Mentat is. They're just people computers, and they're really weird. And from what I understand, I believe, if I remember, they're kind of like have some racism isn't the right word, but some prejudice against.
They're old
Like,
machines.
okay, so they're like breeding Rain Men. Then is like the idea.
I don't know if they're bred
It's just
as much as they're made. I don't remember.
Evolution of autism.
Well, I was saying like it was a genetic thing, right? So I guess made still, but it's like they're trying to get like a supercomputer person. Okay.
But the Mentat are totally outside of the Bene Gesserit. They're just like computer dudes.
Okay. But then my question for them is like, so they know they're making the prophecy, but because they're such planners, they're fulfilling their own prophecy. They're just like laying the groundwork, I guess.
Yeah, they're super manipulative. The Bene Gesserit are like they are a religious cult in every hard sense of the word. They are controlling all the empires. Their reverend mothers are doing all the string pullings. Like the whole Fremen religion involving the Lisan al-Gaib is just Bene Gesserit.
There's so many lines in the second movie, especially that, I mean, I feel like even I relate to today about like using religion to control and oppress. And
the book is
it keeps you waiting. And, and I was just like, oh, this is so like, this is still relevant.
The book is real on the nose about it. Like it makes no call. You have to be an idiot to not get the point. One of the points the book is trying to make, that when you mix religion and politics, only terrible things happen.
Bad.
But to my previous point with the Bene Gesserit like thing, that's why the first Reverend Mother in the beginning of the first movie is so pissed off with Jessica, because she was arrogant enough to think that she could produce the Kwisatz Haderach outside of their plan.
Well, I would have want Fade Routha in the mix. He's crazy.
But
you saying Jessica reminded me. So why are some of the names so normal and some so strange?
Happens in Star Wars
Paul,
too.
Jessica. Yeah, I guess so. But
Star Wars,
I guess
we've got Luke.
This being so much more grounded made it seem a lot more like jarring. Whereas like Paul and then Fade Routha, and I was like, oh, okay.
I think some of it certainly is. We're supposed to, at least in the beginnings, we're supposed to identify with Paul and Jessica's struggle.
Yeah,
early and see the weirdos as the bad people. Like the Baron Harkonnen's first name is Vladimir. We were super.
That is a good way
Russia
to distinguish.
yeah.
Here are the good, but also the Atreides, or at least Paul's family. Like, can't they be traced back to Earth? Like, aren't they one?
No idea.
I mean, I obviously didn't read that.
Generations and generations. They've been space.
I feel like I watched a video at one point that was talking about how like they're supposedly one of the only people, one of the only like lineages around this still has links.
It would scan. I don't know.
So maybe the
names tie in.
Earth names, yeah.
Is anyone on Earth at this point?
No idea. Okay. Earth is never mentioned. It's never mentioned.
Does this movie feel like it's whatever 20-some thousand years in the future, or 200 some?
Yeah.
Like with the lack of technology, my brain kept going.
What do you mean lack of technology?
Well, it's organic now. A lot.
Lack of.
Like we don't need cell
phones.
There's
not like a hologram.
Right.
Yeah.
There are computers. That was a stupid statement.
It's like a good strike between like medieval approach to things with
the retort to that would be, when the book was written, computers were the size of buildings.
That's true.
We
fair.
hadn't put man on the moon yet when Dune came out, the book.
But like their whole thing is like and maybe they talk about this more in the book because they don't in the movies.
It's not computers in Star Wars either.
Yeah, but like, isn't their whole thing like they have done away with like AI and computers and like kind of disallowed some of that?
I can't answer that because it's not important to the story and is never mentioned.
Yeah.
No idea. It's not.
But it just seemed like they've struck a nice balance between like nature and technology.
Certainly
it's not
on
like
Arrakis, because so much of Arrakis is fighting the elements. So you're forced to feel that way because it's such a hostile environment. But you know, like there's answers there. Instead of cell phones, they have Mentat, like whatever. You've got a dude whose eyes rolled in the back of his head and he knows everything.
Yeah, that's fair.
Old Thufir Hawat.
He's got that Elon Musk chip in his brain.
Oh no!
I say their offspring would hopefully be yep. So yeah, Jessica threw a wrench into the Bene Gesserit plan. That's why we're all pissed
Jessica.
off. Yeah, Jessica's wild. She makes a monster and spends a lot of the book going, "Oops."
Oh, I've got a question about her, but it's the second movie question.
So no, we can go ahead to second movie stuff.
So is she actually talking to her child, or is she going crazy because of the blue drink?
I don't really understand the character of the Reverend Mother.
The way she's portraying it, I feel like it could go either way.
All right, these are
like
two different questions. Let's do Reverend Mothers first. They're Reverend,
like the old one, and then now Jessica. Like, how do they become that? What is their what are
the water of life? So
I think it's like the giver.
It's the stuff they used to put in that latte at the Hello Cupcake.
Oh yeah.
What?
The blue
You
drink.
can't drink it straight.
Curacao?
You can't drink it straight.
The Curacao eyes.
Maybe it was actually Curacao. I wonder.
That's it.
You can't drink that straight. At least no man can.
my notes app just broke.
Bunch of weak men can't drink those.
So
juice.
no, so there are differences between women and men.
Really?
And there are there are clear lines of like things that men can't do as far as Bene Gesserit goes, like drinking the water of life. Every other man who did it
because Bene Gesserit are only women, right?
Bene Gesserit are men can be trained in the weirding ways, which Paul was and Shani was.
Weirding ways?
Yeah, that's their combat and the voice.
And that's
stuff.
like okay. The weirding ways.
So they can learn stuff like that. But like, so as far as I know, if I'm understanding right, female Bene Gesserit can get the future and past memories from other female Bene Gesserit, and especially the higher up you go. So when you're a Reverend Mother and you drink the life water, and it's a passing of a torch from one Reverend Mother to the next, you get her memories, past and future, and every single memory from every other Reverend Mother in that line.
And that's why it was a big deal that she was pregnant.
Yeah. Bad, awful thing. She definitely should have told people that.
Yeah.
And in the book, a couple things happen that we lose in the movie as far as part 2 goes. For one, we miss a lot of world building. Starting with the ceremony around Jameis's death, the guy that Paul kills at the end of the first movie, when he invokes that kind of, I'm going to challenge you, but you have to send a fighter or whatever, and Paul kills Jameis. And he'd never killed a person before, which is wild. That's how skilled he is, both from his training from Gurney Halleck and from Jessica. So Jameis, there's a whole burial ceremony that we kind of miss. Everybody gets in a circle and says like a thing about Jameis, and then they got one of his belongings. Paul got the instrument that we see Gurney Halleck play. I forget what it's called, but that's what Paul took from Jameis. Everybody gets a thing. And then because Paul bested him, they show Jameis's water getting poured into that pool. In the book, Paul has the rights to that water. So they actually give him kind of little token medallions that represent the weight of the water of Jameis, and he wears those. And that's a whole thing because the water is so sacred. And actually, one of the prophecies that Paul fulfills early on is during that whole funeral kind of ceremony, Paul cries tears. And one of the prophecies is he will shed water for the dead. That's like one of the things, because you're not supposed to cry. That's why they tell Jessica to not puke, because you're wasting water.
I
really
never.
like how they do the whole water scarcity. It's a cool,
it's
like
crazy.
Everything's so condensed around that.
So
don't waste your water on the dead.
The other thing that they remove
is
that as a part of the Jameis ceremony, Paul actually inherits Jameis's wife and 2 children.
Yeah, I'm glad they skipped that.
I'm not. I'm pissed off that they skipped that because there's a lot of changes to a couple of characters. One, like Chani being so mad that Paul has several wives would not be a thing because he had Jameis's wife first,
That would, yeah.
And at the end of the book, he's got 3 chicks. And the 2 kids. So what happens is Paul is busy with this wife he's inherited and these 2 kids. And he basically goes, we're not going to, but you're like, I'm going to not enslave you, but I'm also not going to take you as a proper wife. You're going to get respect. I'll make sure you have a house. I'll make sure your children are taken care of, but we're not going to be a thing. And she's like, neat.
Deal.
While all of that is happening, Jessica is being chosen as the next Reverend Mother because the Reverend Mother of Sietch Tabor, which is where they are, that's the Sietch's name, is croaking. And they need a new one because they're going to have to migrate soon, and the Reverend Mother's not going to make it because she's that old. Chani's a part of the ceremony. Actually, she's the one that gives the water of life to Jessica.
In the book.
And forces her to drink it. It's in a leather, like, satchel and bag. Got mixed up in my mouth. It's in a leather thing, and she actually squeezes it and forces the water of life in. What's happening there is it's poison. It's actual poison, and the Bene Gesserits are trained to change the molecules of how poison works into something non-lethal. And it happens multiple. It's like Jessica is invulnerable to being poisoned, basically. So she changes it, and the baby in her becomes a Reverend Mother as well. You see the eyes turn blue, all that stuff happens. The dying Reverend Mother realizes that she's pregnant at this point because she's giving her memories, and it's like infusing with Jessica, and she's like, what have we done? This is bad.
I mean, it's just a baby.
Now what happens?
Why didn't they promote from within? Why go outside?
They do. It's Bene Gesserit to Bene Gesserit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But there was nobody within their tribe or anything like that they were like, let's do it with, like, kind of
she was a part of it.
There wasn't another Fremen Bene Gesserit. The Bene Gesserits, like, again, a lot of the Fremen religion is plants. It's Bene Gesserit. It just seemed for generations.
From the outside, it seemed like a quick, like, well, we don't trust these guys, but let's let them be the next Reverend Mother. It seemed like a quick thing.
Yeah, it seemed quick because it wasn't 5 chapters worth of information.
So I was just like, maybe, I guess they knew. Yeah, sorry.
The other huge change is Jessica does not give birth to Alia in the movie. Again, it's 4 years in the book. One of the things of tension, you actually see Jessica walk around pregnant in the movie, and she's like, we'll start with the ones that are weakest and the most distrustful, is a line of dialogue when they're trying to get the Fremen on board. The reason they're distrustful in the book is because Jessica gives birth to this kid who speaks totally perfect adult English and has the knowledge of every single Reverend Mother down that line and is a Reverend Mother herself at like infancy. So it freaks everybody out because you've got a 1-year-old.
As it would.
You've got a 1-year-old who is a grown adult human being mentally and is a Reverend Mother, has all the Reverend Mother knowledge.
Not even a grown adult, like thousands of years of knowledge.
So there is a little bit of Jessica talking to the fetus in the book, but then once it's born, it's a person, and there's a whole bunch of stuff around that. Also, Paul and Chani have a kid, Leto the Second. That's totally removed from this movie.
I think that would have cluttered it up if you're then worried about all these other characters.
In the book, they kill that kid really quick because the Harkonnen or Sardaukar, I can't remember, when they land on the planet, they actually raid their house and kill Leto the Second and kidnap Alia, Jessica's daughter. So in the book, Alia kills the Baron, not Paul.
Oh, wow.
So there's a whole thing where Alia's prisoner on their little like ship base thing, fort thing, with the Emperor. And Alia actually talks to the Baron, calls him grandfather, and then kills him with a Gom Jabbar needle. And before being, I think, ultimately rescued. Like I think she's there for the Fade Routha duel at the end, which is also way better in the book. So that's kind of huge differences. I get why they just kept her in the stomach because
that would have been
the uncanny valley of having a 2-year-old walking around and be a full person.
As far as like the story works, like there's enough reason for them to already not trust Jessica and Paul because they're outsiders. Like he's claiming to be the Lisan al-Gaib, so I mean there's already a basis of distrust.
Time frame. Yeah, so there's less.
So
there's a lot of character
I think it works.
differences with Paul. Like there's no refusal of the call by this point in the story. He's all like bummed out and goes, I'm not the Messiah. It's all plants and blah, blah, blah. Not a thing. In the book, he gets his awakening and can start seeing a lot of visions more in the tent scene from the first movie, where him and Jessica escape the attack on Arrakeen. That's really where he gains. He sees thousands of timelines, and most of them end in jihad with the whole universe. And then he chooses to go south once he drinks the water of life. So in this movie, like, it kind of makes no sense that he wants to go south before he's had the water of life. And what the water of life does to him is...
he sees all the visions of death.
He can see those before.
But that's why he doesn't want to go south.
Doesn't he like pray, like, show me what to do, and then he has a vision that's like, drink the
Well, he
water,
prays to Jameis, and that's
know?
really strange. I don't remember that.
I don't know. He had some voice tell him go south and drink the water.
Jameis is like his guide through
the
all
water
of it.
is not south. The water is where they are. The water of life is in the north still. They go south.
Well, they go to that temple thing with the big doors with the worms in the pit. I thought that was in the south.
That's in the north. That's not in the south. They send Chani and Jessica south while Paul stays behind to do the water of life thing.
Well, that seems strange to me because they make it seem like they get on the worms to travel and then they arrive at the doors. Is what it.
No, we had a cut. They travel,
like.
And then that's why when Paul's in the coma, which he's in for weeks in the book, that's why Chani arrives by ornithopter. She's already south.
Oh, okay.
And she's sent an ornithopter and thinks it's very strange. Why is Paul using one of our ornithopters that we're saving for this battle to bring me back? And it's because he's in a coma. He also drinks, I believe, 1 drop of it in the book, and it sends him into a coma. He does survive. That proves ultimately that he is the Kwisatz Haderach, and what that means for him is he can see the past and present of both male and female members. And that is absolutely unheard of. And also way too complicated for a movie. I get why none of that was in it. Just they kind of shuffle up the order of things. They make Paul's refusal of the call is quite strange. He refuses the call in the book just because he doesn't want to start a jihad, not because there's like conflict there. Also, the Fremen are way more bought in. There's not the north and south divide between radicals there. Chani is very overtly on board with everything Paul is regarding Paul. She's super on board. There's much more communication between the two of them about what's going to happen. And when we get to the end of the movie in our discussion, there's an incredible line between Jessica and Chani that had to be thrown out because Chani is very combative about all of it in the movie.
Yeah, Chani as a whole character was a little disappointing.
You're telling me.
I expected
her turn face, yeah.
I expected not just her, but like the whole Fremen to be more accepting of him.
They are.
Like once he showed up, but not initially. Like
they are in the book.
Okay.
They are in the book. There's
I was gonna say some of them were immediately on board, but most of them were like, "This guy ain't it."
Yeah, a lot of the friction in the book is with Alia, not Paul. It's with there's this crazy Reverend Mother child running around like an adult person, and that's where a lot of the conflict.
Steal your attention a little bit.
That would
to be
steal
fair.
your attention.
That's nightmare fuel, yeah.
Mrs. Wife,
I liked the portions of the movie where Paul is learning to be one with the desert, and Chani's watching him, and she's like, "You step like a robot." Or
We got a little
whatever she
montage
said.
scene.
You know, I liked that where he's learning to ride the,
Is Dune a rom-com?
trying to learn the things. I don't know. I like that.
That was one of my favorite scenes.
Which one?
Whenever he first rides the worm.
All right, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the worm ride because it's not explained very well in the book or in the movie. It is better in the book. So one of the questions Danielle has: why don't they dive? Why don't they just go back under the sand?
Yeah, that was
when
my
there's a
big
person on them?
question. Is like, how do they not just?
I don't remember why, and I forgot to look it up. But when they're hooked behind their segments, it shows that segment being pulled up.
That's controlling.
That prevents them from diving.
Okay, yeah.
Also, in the book, the hooks are 1 meter long. They're not like 18 inches, and they don't extend like reins. It's not how they work. In the movie, they just kind of like turn it like a horse. And in the book, they have to shuffle their positioning. Like they literally have to climb to the right side to get it to turn right, and then climb to the left side of the worm to get it to turn left. So they're more hanging on and maneuvering with the hooks in the book.
I don't think I would have liked that more. I think it just looks cool.
Oh, it looks.
He jumps on and
sure.
Fa-cha, and then he's just riding the worm.
I mean, yeah, but like it's once you've read the book, it's impossible to not be like, that's different.
What I'm learning is I should never read the book.
You should definitely read the book because it's so much weirder.
It looks cooler if you're standing and surfing.
It looks
like
so
you're
much
like you're on a kite surfing.
Yeah.
But
their reaction to like the biggest worm possible showing up for his first ride
totally
was
happens
so
in the book.
good.
Also, Stilgar.
Oh no, not that one.
Stilgar,
you can't control what kind of worm comes. Like he's just thumping the thing.
No, it's actually a prophecy fulfillment that he rides such a big worm.
Yeah.
Oh.
But also Stilgar kind of gives him the business when it's done. He's like, you kind of sucked at that.
What?
You did not the best job.
Struggled a bit.
first
Well,
time,
you
man.
gotta struggle the first time. Well, I guess he's the
say,
he'll know their ways.
There's a higher standard.
Did you guys know deserts were just, I guess, an ocean of sand? I thought deserts were like 10 feet of sand, like deep. I didn't think deserts were that much sand.
Like in
Like
real
miles
life,
of sand.
Like I didn't think like a worm could go face up into like that much sand. I didn't think there was that much sand. I thought it was like rock and then a little bit of sand. I didn't think
guess
it
I
was
never
all
thought about it.
sand.
Hey, it's not Earth.
That's true.
It's Arrakis.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true. But
What,
I was just like, that's a lot of sand for that worm.
What
to
is
maneuver
drum
through
sand?
that.
Drum sand is not in the book.
Well, that doesn't answer my question.
It's just reverberating sand in the movie. So like,
Because
it's
in the
brought
movie,
up,
it makes it feel like there's like a hollow piece of plastic under them, and they're just
No.
pounding
It's
on
just-
it, which obviously I know isn't true. But
it's just more percussive for whatever reason. Maybe the pebble size of the sand or whatever.
just fancy sand.
They bring it up in the
Fancy
first movie when Paul and Jessica are running. They actually hit drum sand and have to. That's when they have to do the walk. And then in this movie, Paul has to find drum sand to put the thumper in. From what I understood in the book, it's like all the sand's just a bummer and there's worms in it, and you have to be careful at all times. There's not a drum sand kind of thing. I could be misremembering.
Or like worm territory.
Yeah.
Like, because there were times where it's like, they're running. Why aren't they using the sand walk? And then like a minute later, they'd be like, you're not even in worm territory. And I was like, oh, I guess this sand is okay.
Yeah, that's not the impression I
Other
got.
sand
know?
over there is not okay, but this sand is fine.
It's not the impression I got from the book.
Yeah. Are there aliens in this universe, or is it just people that are different?
I don't know.
Okay, I didn't know if that was like covered later.
humans evolved. Is that what this is?
Different races.
Just humans, yeah, different, yeah.
So the gladiator scene, if we can skip ahead to that.
Oh,
Oh God, that looks
Austin
so cool.
Butler in this movie, dude.
Insane.
Incredibly filmed. The gladiator scenes are all filmed in infrared. They looked sick.
Okay, I thought it was infrared.
They were filmed in infrared.
It looked
We
really
are
sick.
missing a lot of politics from this scene. A couple characters that end up not existing. This is the scene that I had the biggest beef with, as far as differences from the book go. For one of my biggest beefs was Alia wasn't a toddler running around. That I can kind of look past because there are narrative and movie reasons and to not have that. Kind of cleans up the thing. You don't have to spend as much time in the siege, all that kind of stuff. I get it. I get the narrative reasons for not having Alia be born. There is no reason that I can think of for the change in the gladiator fight, which is, in this movie, there are 3 gladiators that fight Feyd-Rautha. 2 of them are drugged. 1 is not. And the Baron did not drug the 3rd as a birthday gift to kind of make Feyd have to fight harder. And Feyd-Rautha is like pissed off about it. So what the hell was that? Kind of afterwards. In the book, that is completely backwards. In the book, there is 1 gladiator, not 3. And it is not drugged because Feyd-Rautha did not want him drugged so that he could have a better challenge because he was tired of fighting drugged gladiators. In the book, I believe the drug turns their skin green. I think it was green. It turns their skin a color. I can't remember what the color is. So Feyd actually has the dude painted that color
Oh, interesting.
to kind of hide his crimes. And then right after the whole gladiator fight, where the people actually go crazy just like they do in the movie because he fights a non-drugged guy and wins, which is nuts.
And without a shield.
And yeah, that's the other thing. Their shields were, I think he had a shield in the book, and also his knife was poisoned. So every time he slashed the guy, he got poisoned and started to stagger. In the book, right after that, he tries to assassinate the Baron and usurp the throne. And the Baron outsmarts him, thwarts him, he sends like guards, I think, to ambush the Baron in his chambers, and then Fade Routha goes to the chambers, and the Baron has murdered the guards and is like, "You're an idiot," basically. And as punishment for that and for not drugging the guy, the Baron has Fade go personally assassinate the slave master that I think he was kind of boys with in the gladiator thing. That's one of his punishments. And he's basically like, "Hey, you don't want to kill me and become the Baron. You want to become the emperor, and I have a plan for that." It's kind of where that whole conversation happens. So all that is much more. I get why they took all the politics out and they actually removed characters, and they removed a major, not major, but a character from the first movie just doesn't appear in this one. I'll talk about that at the end because I was like, "Where's my boy?" But yeah, that was the most different because I cannot think of a narrative choice for flipping the drugging. I don't get it. Why would you do that?
I don't get it either.
I don't know.
Seems silly.
I don't get it because like in the book
up
it
in the
kind
same
of
place.
What can you do?
in the book it serves as the Baron has Fade Routha under his thumb kind of deal. Like, I'm the boss man. And in the movie, it's kind of like, I guess you get the same thing from having the Baron withhold the poison. Maybe that's it instead of the assassination subplot. Maybe that's why. I don't know.
Is it that he wants him, the Baron wants him to feel like he doesn't care if he lives or dies? Like, there's more risk for him in that?
I don't know.
And the Baron doesn't care.
Or if the Baron
That seems like the same origin point, but I guess we didn't have time in the movie to go through the assassination attempts.
I
Maybe
think
like,
that's
we'll
what
have
it
to change
was. Because the assassination plan being thwarted is how the Baron kind of puts Fade in his place. And maybe they were like, well, it's quicker if he just doesn't drug the guy. And we kind of
they just go right to him confronting me. Like, you try to kill me. He's like, I got a plan for you. And it's
so
okay.
maybe that's fine.
They really cut through.
Yeah, that's fine, but I found it kind of weird. I want to also mention Paul choosing his names and being given a name by Stilgar. The way that was presented in the movie is also a little different from the book, and I don't understand why. In the movie, it's kind of presented as a first, middle, last thing. He's Paul, Muad'Dib, Usul.
Yeah, when they started doing that, I was like, this dude has like 5 freaking names now. I can't keep up.
In the book, it's much clearer. So in the book, it's the first part's the same. Stilgar gives him the name Usul. That name is only to be used internally by the Fremen. So the Fremen call him Usul.
Was a totem pole thing or something?
It was the foundation of a pillar. He's the He's the foundation on which the pillar of the Fremen will be built on because he's the Messiah figure. So his name is Usul. Every Fremen has a secret name, from what we understand, and that's Paul's. Muad'Dib is what they would call him outside of that context. So even to other people, that's his given Fremen name is Muad'Dib. And Paul's retort to that is, like, he picks Muad'Dib because of the desert mouse, and then says, but I want to keep Paul as my first name as a nod to my family lineage. So he becomes Paul Muad'Dib or Usul. Depending on context. In this movie, he's Paul Muad'Dib Usul, and I didn't like it.
Okay.
I did like how
formal,
they used...
informal in Spanish.
It's a formal, informal in Spanish kind of
Okay,
thing.
gotcha.
I liked how they used his war name to hide his identity. Like, they didn't realize he was alive for a little bit.
Yeah, because they knew it was the Muad'Dib, the Harkonnen did, but they didn't know it was Paul. Thought the Atreides had all been killed.
Nope.
Oh, and then that when he was reunited with
Gurney.
Killed. Yeah, let's talk about Gurney. So
yeah, I thought for sure he was gone.
That was the thing that pissed me off about the trailers is they had the Gurney Halleck hug in the trailers, and I was like, why are we spoiling the great rendezvous?
Yeah.
Like, it's so cool.
I recognize your footsteps.
When that scene was happening in the movie,
Oh.
I was like, this would have been so much cooler if I didn't see him in the trailer. And then you looked at me and went, I'm mad that was in the trailer.
What were you saying?
I never saw a trailer.
Good.
That's crazy. No, Cameron, like, one of the new trailers came out and Cameron was like, did you see that? And I was like, yeah, but I don't know, like, what the differences are. And then I think it played again and Cameron's like, don't look at the screen. And I was like, oh, the Gurney Halleck thing. And he was like, no.
Yeah, it's
like,
No.
So he was like trying to save me. And I was like, it's,
I
didn't really register. I think you had already told me at some point too.
We'll talk
that
about
he
this
lived,
now too.
but-
There's a second person that survives from the Atreides kind of assassination dealio. Thufir Hawat lives too. He is Leto's Mentat, the kind of older guy whose eyes rolled in the back of his head in the first film.
Yeah.
That dude's totally alive in the movie. He gets kidnapped by the Harkonnen. and he replaces Piter as the Baron's new mentat. And Thufir kind of plots his own kind of revenge to kill the Baron, and it's a whole kind of deal. But when you remove all the politics from the movie, you kind of have no need to give the Baron another mentat. So you just don't have the character return, I guess. But I was like, where's my boy Thufir? This sucks.
It's just off level.
He wasn't even really. I mean, he was in the first one a little bit, but
not a
much.
ton. Yeah,
mentats were a much larger deal.
This was more of the spiritual journey, less the political.
Yeah, for sure.
They have they have full chapters where the Baron is just talking to his mentats, and they use that to give us political background on both the Harkonnens' relationship with the Atreides and Arrakis and Getty Prime and the Empire and Chom and all this stuff that's just not important enough, because we're not concerned about the politics. We're more concerned about the religious war. But it's really sick world building that we just lose. And it's
my brother was saying like the mentats even have parameters where they can't like do bad things, but then some people can like hack them a little bit or something.
Yeah, it's against their protocol. It's kind of like it's like C-3PO.
It's such a big universe, man. It's really compelling stuff. I like it a lot.
You should read the book.
I might. I don't know.
Gurney. Let's talk about Gurney, because there's a big character change that I was not thrilled with. For one, this is a little. This is me being in the weeds. The smugglers that are with Gurney, their eyes should all have been blue, and they were not, because they mine spice. Hello.
Spice.
So Gurney, the time of his disappearance, Gurney kind of flees into the desert, and the Fremen help him get off world, and then he becomes a smuggler, comes back to Arrakis because he wants to kill, what's his face? Crap. Batista's character.
I'm not gonna know. Ruben.
Robin.
I was like, something with an R.
He wants to kill Rabban, so he comes back and is running spice smuggling, kind of underneath the Harkonnen nose. So Paul and the Fremen are obviously doing the hits on the Harkonnen spice thing. So just like in the movie, they attack Gurney. There's more bloodshed. There's more loss of life in the book. And then Paul and Gurney are like, they do the Spider-Man meme kind of deal. And they're like, it's you. And they have this whole thing. And then Gurney gets brought to the siege, just like in the movie. However,
which I thought they'd be more suspicious, because it was such a big deal to take Paul and Jessica there, and I was like, now they're just taking like a whole group of people.
Well, by this point though, Paul's pretty solidified as the Lisan al Gaib. So a friend of his is a friend of the Fremen kind of deal. So the big difference, the huge departure here, which I don't understand why they didn't kind of do it, is when Gurney sees Jessica in the siege. As far as Gurney knows, Jessica is the traitor that got Leto killed. He knew nothing about the Dr. Yua. He knew nothing about that. There was actually a paper, like a message circulated to the Atreides leadership about how Jessica was going to betray Duke Leto. And Leto and Paul knew it was BS. Jessica obviously knew it was BS. Gurney was not informed. So he tries to kill Jessica immediately upon getting in the siege.
Oh,
and it is a huge thing. Jessica has to use the voice to restrain him. Paul has to talk him down, and then Gurney wants Paul to kill him because he just tried to do treason and kill Jessica.
Well, he thought she did treason. So
right, exactly.
It happens. Little treason between.
So we have basically a whole chapter.
Yeah.
We have a whole chapter where we sift through that, and it's really neat. And it's not in the movie.
I think that would have been cool in the movie, though. I think.
Yeah. Do we really need to save that 5 minutes? I don't know.
Yeah.
But whatever. Because I was waiting. I was like, oh, wait until he sees Jessica, because Paul has a thing where he's like, tells Gurney, go back to the siege and protect my mother. And I was like, here it is. Nope. Nope.
Maybe they just wanted to try to make their reunion happier.
Yeah. But that's what's so interesting in the book is you're like, yay. Oh, it's fascinating. And we lose.
It really is like sci-fi Game of Thrones. Like you're really like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like it's just like high stakes and anybody can go. And yeah, it's just good drama.
It is way more
definitely high stakes.
Oh, the Jessica being the Baron's daughter, totally real, actually a thing.
Oh yeah.
Paul learns that again in the tent with Jessica in the Not in the book. He learns that really early in the tent with Jessica in the first movie. That's when he learns.
I misunderstood that, and I thought that she meant that she was pregnant with the Baron's child.
Ew.
I was like, oh shit.
She is she's a Harkonnen.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Her and Paul are Harkonnens. Also, Jessica is a concubine, not Leto's wife, because Leto was saving marriage for political gain. So Jessica is a concubine. That's important-ish.
It's funny, she informed Paul to do the same thing, even though she was a victim of it.
Yeah. So Paul does the same thing with Chani and with Jameis's wife. So they were both concubines, and then his actual wife becomes what's her face?
Aurelian? Princess Aurelian?
I
don't know how to say Aurelian.
Something like that.
Something
Whatever
like
her
that.
name is.
Florence Pugh.
Florence Pugh. Yeah.
Is she a Mentat?
No, she's just a princess.
Okay.
She's a princess, but she's also a Bene Gesserit.
Oh, Gurney getting revenge on Rabban when he stabs Rabban and is like, "This is for my duke and my friends." At the end,
Yeah.
not in the book.
Like
Rabban,
a little revenge,
He had to go
stab.
though, right?
Rabban dies in the book, but he is an absolute afterthought. He dies, and at one point, Stilgar literally goes, "Oh yeah, Rabban's dead." Like as a remember that guy? It's kind of he really gets brushed under the rug once Fade Routha comes in because he's the favorite nephew. He's done the whole Gom Jabbar test. He was supposed to be the father of the Kwisatz Haderach and he got screwed by Jessica, which is a cool thing in the final battle that we missed. I felt like the end of the movie was a bit rushed. The final battle, we missed this whole dialogue. We get like 2 sentences of it, but the old Reverend Mother, the Truth Seeker, and Jessica are mentally talking with Alia. The 3 of them are just beep, 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 just thoughts the whole time, and it's impossible for them to fit that in. Also, the battle
a little bit.
Florence Pugh couldn't hear them talking, or is it only
no?
Because
I don't think
the Reverend Mothers.
I don't think she's a Bene Gesserit. But
it's only.
It's only Reverend Mothers. The Reverend Mothers.
She was trained.
Maybe she's a Bene Gesserit.
I think she is because she was like, "You trained me well," yada yada, to the Reverend Mother.
Yeah, I thought
well, they ain't talking. You can't.
Yada yada.
I don't think that Bene Gesserit talking in each other's heads is like a radio frequency you can just turn into. I think it's very much like I'm talking to you.
Well, I guess that's what we're asking. Is it like?
Wait a minute.
Like
My
impression is
what frequency are you guys on?
No, my impression is I'm talking to you. You're talking to me. So Florence Pugh's just
smoking the bandit reference.
That character.
What's her call sign?
The princess. Actually, every chapter of the book starts with a little paragraph or sentence or 2 at the top, and it's written to give you the impression that this is kind of the diary of the Muad'Dib written by the princess. So that's kind of neat.
The Tibetan monk stuff they do in the beginning, is that in the book in any kind of way, or
you have to remind me?
Yeah, what?
The monk stuff?
They just do at the very beginning. It's like the throat singing they do in the very beginning, and it does like it's like spices this, or like kind of does like a little.
Those are top. Those are again top of chapter notes.
Okay.
But no, I don't know how they would.
I think it's just like part of the score, right?
How would you convey that in a book?
Cool.
Carl?
Yeah, it's cool.
I was like, I didn't know if
the film.
were the chapter things or if it was like where there was ripped from.
Like italics, throat singing.
Yeah.
Better than what I call it.
Yeah. What did you call it?
I was trying to ask Cameron a question. I was like, the guys that the deep throat stuff. I was like, wait, never mind. Scratch that. You know what I meant.
Got it.
Should we talk about the last duel with Fade and Paul?
Dude.
Because I have a question about that. I think I missed something.
What stood out to me about that? No music.
I was underwhelmed by that scene.
Really?
It was very rushed.
It was quick.
It lost
all... It didn't feel rushed. It was just a short fight.
All the fights were kind of short, though.
It lost all nuance. It is much better in the book. In the book, first of all, they fight with their shields up. And there is more internal dialogue, monologuing between the two. There's actually more dialogue between the two when they're fighting. Fade Routha is running his mouth a whole lot. And Paul, like kind of like in the Sherlock Holmes movies, is like, oh, he's talking a lot. So he like deduces things about his fighting from how much he's yapping. They have their shields up, so they have to fight more carefully than if they were just shieldless. And Fade, once again, his blades are poisoned, and he has hidden poisoned blades in his belt that Paul sees, and he's like, he doesn't always see that, but I see it.
But I see it.
So Fade actually doesn't stab Paul in the chest. Like that was an interesting choice,
Dude, okay, so
To probably help build tension.
Paul kept telling Zendaya,
Chani. Not a hard name.
Well, for me it is.
It kept sounding like Johnny though.
And the subtitles in the first movie, when I put it back on, like the first time he said her name, I thought it said Chai. I was like, there's no way. There's no way her name's Chai.
There's an N. Just deleting.
But he kept looking at her going, I'll love you till my last breath.
I'll talk about
and
that
I was
later.
like, oh my God, they're going to kill Paul.
No.
And then he got stabbed, and I was like, oh my God, he's going to die.
I'll talk about that more at the end.
How did he survive that?
I had to ask Cameron like really early on, like, these three make it out, right? I was like, I don't care if anybody else dies, but let me know if Chani, Paul, and
I had
die.
to tell her we have almost no deaths. And we don't. We have almost no major deaths in this movie.
Then I can relax a little
Just the
bit
people
through
you
the
want.
experience. Yeah, like anybody else, sure, whatever.
We have actually less
the Baron.
deaths in the book.
I was
'cause
like,
Thufir's
I literally
alive.
was like, I hope the Baron dies because he's so disgusting and horrible, and I just, I don't like him.
But also, I love that.
Did that
guy.
happen in the
No,
book?
Oh,
Or you said was
it
the
happens
girl
in the
did
book,
it,
and he
right.
gets stabbed with a gom jabbar by a 4-year-old, which is so much better. It's the best.
Well, the
Can you
4-year-old
imagine
doesn't
that?
exist in this, so Paul gets to avenge his father.
Did they change the movie fight to where it's like a callback to he's like when he was fighting Gurney in the beginning and they both stabbed each other?
That's a thing because it's a shield fight, so all their blows are bouncing off the shields and they have to be slow to get through the shield. Like that's the callback that you get. Really, the Gurney fight in the book is to kind of set up shield technology and why there's knives. The thing with so he doesn't get stabbed like he does in the movie. In the book, Fade Rautha's blade is poisoned because of course. So he gets slashed in the dominant arm and can't like use it. So he has to switch his crysknife to his left and then definitely murders Fade Rautha. And it's more drawn out and it's more of a dance. You get the sense that it's more of like a dance in the book and less of just chaos, cool flippy stuff. Which it's neat, but like, every one-on-one duel involving swords is going to fall flat after you've seen Revenge of the Sith. That'll never be topped. It'll never be topped.
There's the Star Wars
You can't have a
reference.
more ridiculous fight than that. Yeah.
No, you can't. The choreography between the Anakin and Obi-Wan fight will never be
Don't
matched.
try it, Anakin. I have the high ground.
Dude, it's when they are like...
You underestimate my power.
All right, we don't have to quote Star Wars. We're talking about Dune, but I'm just saying, it's awesome.
You started
That's
it.
About
rich
Star
coming
Wars
from you.
in every movie.
Yeah, but I like Dune. Well, hey, Dune
And he said
inspired Star Wars.
Dune in the movie, so that was nice.
He did say Dune.
That happens in the first movie, too. Baron
Said
says
it a couple times.
Baron
in
says,
this
my Arrakis, my Dune.
And then I was like, oh yeah, they really just named this movie after sand dunes.
one.
Well, yes, so...
Like it didn't click in my head until they said it in the movie. I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of a lame
No,
name.
Frank Herbert he had dunes
Why
near
not
where
spice?
he had dunes near where he lived, and he saw the dunes on the beach and went, "That's an idea," and wrote Dune.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll invent a genre.
maybe I'll invent a genre.
Maybe I'll change the world.
No big deal.
So, okay, so Chani, I want to talk about Chani. Her character,
A little bit of a bummer.
I thought was going to be much less high profile, and I thought Jessica was going to be much more high profile. But when you don't have Alia be born, there's no real reason to have Jessica be more in it. And a lot of Jessica being more in it was with the Water of Life ceremony that was diminished to kind of 45 seconds in the movie. I get it. No beef with that. Chani could not have been more different in this, and I think that's for a couple of reasons. One, all of the women in the book with this huge asterisk of the Bene Gesserit are like all women and they control like everything. They're very submissive. Now this was written in the 60s. So Chani's very on board with everything Paul does. And Paul's like, I'm going to protect you. This is what I'm seeing. This is what's happening. It's going to be great. And she's like, cool. She's like kind of like one of his cheerleaders in the book. And one of the biggest changes as far as her character, besides her being like not on board with any of the religion stuff, which is completely different, is in how their relationship ends up. So this movie kind of ends on, for me, just with her walking out of the room.
It is a bummer because I'm like, what's she gonna do? Go live by herself in the desert? That's sad.
Yeah, like I'm fine with her not just being a yes man the whole time and like being 100% on board.
Well, she's more fleshed out too. She's more of a warrior.
But it doesn't pay off in the end. Like she's still.
And she has a much nicer ending, much nicer for her in the book through this line. So you mentioned the whole "I'll love you as long as I have breath." Mm-hmm. That line is a kind of gross, like cliff note to what is actually said by Paul. Because Paul goes to the emperor, "I'm taking your daughter. I'm in charge." And what Paul said, Chani's like, "What the hell?" kind of still. What Paul says to
Also
Chani,
me.
what Paul says to Chani is, this is a quote from the book. I went and looked it up. "I swear to you now that you'll need no title. That woman over there will be my wife and you but a concubine, because this is a political thing and we must weld peace out of this moment. Enlist the great houses of the Landstrad. We must obey the forms. Yet that princess shall have no more of me than my name, no child of mine, nor touch, nor softness of glance, nor instant of desire." So he's basically like, she is a title.
That would have been fine.
And Shawnee's like, cool. And now Jessica turns to Chani after this, and it's one of the last lines in the book. Jessica turns to Chani, and it's the best line in the book. It's my favorite line. And we miss it because we changed Chani's character so much. Jessica turns to Chani and goes, "While we, Chani, we who carry the name of concubine, history will call us wives."
Ooh,
that's the best.
That's good.
And they bastardize Chani's character.
Good.
But, I don't know. I'm totally fine with it. I get it. It's 2024. Yeah. Strong female leads mean something totally different now than they did.
Still, though, that would have been
the 60s.
That's a good.
But again, the power that you get from that is still like, well, we're just concubines, but they'll remember us different. Instead of like, I'm a freaking warrior, like badass lady who's not on board with my crazy jihad guy boyfriend who doesn't want to talk to me because he's crazy.
So something in like with me in media is like, I don't like it when writers rely on tension between like the main romance to build drama. And that's kind of knowing that from the book, that's not how it was.
It is not how
I don't like that they then employed that as a tool to build tension and drama in the movie.
Well, like, the other reason behind that kind of is,
like I get it, but like, I don't know.
There's another kind of reasoning.
Like it when there's not drama in the main relationship that I'm rooting for.
Like you know the whole battle that happens with the Harkonnen and the Sardaukar and Atreides at the end.
Yeah,
that's like a couple sentences in the book because it's just a means to an end. Who cares about the battle? We have other shit going on. And Paul, first of all, gains quote unquote enlightenment much earlier, and a lot of the tension. It's not between Chani and Paul. A lot of the tension is between Jessica going, "Wow, isn't this all happening a bit fast?" And wow, isn't he so much stronger than everybody thought? Because
Jessica
Paul
says that?
Yeah, she has a lot of internal conflict about like, wow, he's kind of really doing it, and it's scary because Paul.
I feel the opposite about the movie, though. Yeah,
Paul has no. He doesn't have, again, he has not as much refusal of the call. And he comes off in the book as significantly more confident, significantly more sure of himself. Like, I feel like
That's
once like, they have the big meeting at the Siege and he shows up and, like, gives the speech, I feel like from then on, he projects confidence.
Right.
Maybe even since he rode the worm.
But.
Yeah.
In the book, we've had that confidence for 300 pages.
Well,
and
yeah, but
he's like, I didn't
it differently.
I didn't read any yelling from him in the book. Now that could be the way that I interpreted it.
Yeah, once he drank the water,
but like
he
he's
was yelling a lot.
screaming at Fremen and shouting them down and like reciting their family histories. And in the book, they're kind of all already on board. So he's like, rah rah, let's go do the thing. And he's much more of a like not quiet strength, but kind of like a. I don't know. It just read a little differently.
Calm confidence.
He almost reads as more powerful and
stoic
and more stoic in the book and less and more mature beyond his age. But also like you also get this sense of like shit's gonna go bad in the next book that we get in the movie. But I don't know. It felt much different. I came away from the end of the book with much different feelings than I came away from the end of the movie.
Huh.
Well, again, with the movie, they're probably trying to make it so audiences feel satisfied with an ending, but also there's an open door for more.
Yeah, because the door opening, like,
feel
well, they
satisfied.
certainly nailed that.
Yeah,
because it was kind of a cliffhanger there at the end.
It's more of one in the book because I don't think we get any of that. Hey, we're gonna attack these guys kind of deal. Like we just get like, oh, Paul's gonna rule now. Like he is the Kwisatz Haderach for sure, for real, and crazy stuff is about to happen in Dune Messiah. And then we have the whole thing of like Alia's there too, and she's a crazy, like she's crazy.
Oh, if they do more movies,
I feel
they've
like I
got
would
to
be
bring her into it.
annoyed by that.
Well,
I feel like I would be
teased the
annoyed by
actor
this
already.
little annoying know-it-all. I feel like I would find that character annoying.
It doesn't come out as annoying
No, it's not
because
like
she's fully
a side.
grown.
It's not like a sidekick character that's like, God, why are they interrupting and making things
No,
difficult?
because she's an equal Reverend Mother. So the kid actually has a lot of. It's just like kind of how Jessica's talking to the womb about how like, oh, this is what
It's
your
like
sister's
almost
asking. It's,
not even a kid other
It
than
isn't.
age.
That's why it's so
An
scary.
entity.
It's just
Yeah.
another character.
That's why it's so off-putting to the friend. And she, again, she's not in it a whole lot, but she is. I mean, for God's sake, she kills the Baron at 4 years old with a Gamjavar. She's a badass, and she has like a telepathic communication with Paul, and with Jessica too. Like she, I think Paul actually senses that Leda the Second dies. I don't really remember. Yeah, there's a lot. I got to reread the book.
Can I make a side point right now?
Yeah,
Our dog has been nonstop fussy this whole episode.
it's been nuts.
See.
And it's because Dune's on the TV. When we watched Dune last weekend,
she hates.
she hated it.
Oh, no.
She would not settle on the couch. She would not lay down. She would not be happy when we watched the movie. And right now
She
we're
would
trying to
not be
record
happy.
and it's on in the living room
And then she comes in here and you're talking about it.
and we're in here talking about it. She hates Dune,
I think a lot of it was like this. There's a lot of subwoofer in that movie, and I think she's
Yeah.
bummed out.
but
with the
she can
remote.
hear it out in the
That and
living
the
room.
Wheel
and
of
she's
Fortune.
sad.
She hates Wheel of Fortune
Look at her.
too.
She's burying her little head.
How far have we been going?
Anyways, about an hour.
Oh Jesus, we're over an hour. Well, so I mean, this is a weird episode because it's just me kind of complaining about the book being better.
That is true.
Here's what I should have said at the.
It is interesting, though.
I should have said at the front. I loved the movie. I really did. I thought it was a
Oh
good
my God.
movie, but
Yeah.
the way that I enjoy things is not
Is
to
this.
just be
I
like,
think it's telling.
boy, it wasn't that great. I'm gonna be like, no, but the other like, here's what I didn't like about it, but I still loved it.
Actually enjoyed the fact that they were able to kind of take some creative control, change some things, and it still be a very good,
Yeah,
compelling
I
story.
mean, look at Lord of the Rings. They changed so many things. They removed Tom Bombadil. Like they changed a lot. So
All these names sound like Harmontown characters.
Tom Bombadil's a huge character in the books, but he's Tom Bombadil's like kind of so powerful that he doesn't fit in any other media but literature. So no, I like
the same way with any adaptations. You just have to make concessions to fit the medium, you know?
Yeah.
Avatar,
So I get it.
Avatar, Lord of the Rings.
I think David was kind of thinking I didn't like it because him and I were talking, and I really can't wait to talk to Steven about it because him and I tend to approach things the same. Like all we do is bitch and moan about Star Wars, but it's our favorite thing. So no, can we do hit, miss, or miss real quick? Then we'll do hot points, and
That's
then
what
we'll get
you're
the hell
Sure.
out of here.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
Hit for sure.
Hey.
Watching them back to back yesterday was really cool because I think they're both hits. I don't
Oh,
know if we want to
absolutely.
do both, but I think they're both hits. I liked how distinct the two movies were, though. Like the first one felt personal, way more political, but was like more about their family, and then the second one, it just built on top of that and raised the stakes across the board.
Mm-hmm.
I think I liked the second one more.
Okay. Carl?
I think both are hits. I'm trying to think. Well, I'm biased because I only saw the first one on my TV, and I saw the second one in IMAX. And the sound design was just
I gotta go see
phenomenal.
it
I
in
mean,
IMAX.
it was so immersive. It felt like you were there and you just had like a protection screen between you and what was actually happening. Like you would hear it. It was so good. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really want to kind of dive into that Dune world. But yeah, hits for both.
What I would say is like I would be careful still about Googling stuff. I was reading some wikis to refresh my memory on stuff today as I kind of punched up my notes. And luckily Wikipedia broke certain characters down between the sagas. So I was actually like increasing my like browser size to not even be able to glance at any Dune Messiah, Children of Dune stuff because I'm just not. I got spoiled by a character death.
Children of Dune.
So
they're making 2 more.
They're gonna make one more, possibly. Denis said that he would do Dune Messiah, which is the direct continuation of this. There's 3 books in the Atreides kind of story. There's Dune, Dune Messiah, and Children of Dune. Mm-hmm. From what I understand, Children of Dune is so weird that there's no way they can make it into a movie because it's just very strange. Like I think I know there's a second Leto Atreides. The second. There's 2 of them because the first one dies in this movie, and then I think Paul and Chani have Leto Atreides. Something. He's got an extra thing added onto his name, and I believe he's part. I think he's part worm or something.
No,
there's weirdness that happens that they can't like make that into a movie. So
I
could illustrate it.
Nick's
I would expect
right now.
I would expect Dune. I would expect Dune Messiah. I would not expect a Children of Dune movie.
Nick's
but do we think we're gonna do a time jump and Anya Taylor-Joy is the main character as Elia?
I have not read Messiah. I don't want to speculate.
I didn't realize.
I do want to order the book though.
Because we see Anya Taylor-Joy in like at the same age as like Paul and a flash forward. So I'm like, well, they can't both be the same age in the next movie. Like,
I'm gonna be pissed if we leave off with Timmy Tim and it's Anya. I mean, I love Anya Taylor-Joy, but like, don't throw a new main character at me without finishing the story.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be like Paul going further insane and kind of becoming a problem in Dune Messiah.
Wait, he becomes a problem?
Yeah, he does a jihad.
ultimate power corrupts. Yeah.
Why couldn't they just follow him and then everyone can be happy?
Hey,
Why they gotta go to war?
I mean, we have the same kind of Messiah gone wrong in Star Wars. Look at Anakin.
Yeah.
So, and
true.
that's
God
what was the
dang it.
blueprint for it? Dune. So,
Oh no.
what do you think? What do you think about these 2 films?
Paul is
mid,
Anakin.
Miss?
They're hits for me.
Obvious.
I like the first one better, I think, because
Me too.
I like the focus on the family dynamics.
Focus on the
family. Triggered.
Thanks, Andy Stanley.
Triggered.
For writing Dune.
But no, I like the, more quiet, like, I don't know, just building of momentum. And like I said, focus on, just Paul and his dad. Oscar Isaac is great in that movie. And
Yep,
That's true.
so the second movie, I mean,
Man, when he
it's
bites
still
the
a hit.
poison. Oh.
So good. The second movie, the whole religious part weirds me out a little bit because it's so strange and so much. So I don't know. It was a lot to watch. We left the movie theater and I was literally like dizzy and exhausted because I was like, oh my God, that was so much.
She made me drive home.
I did make him drive home. But no, I mean, I still love it, and it's definitely a world that sucks me in, and like I want to then watch all the cast interviews and how-tos and facts, So I've been in YouTube rabbit holes since then.
How to Dune.
How to Dune.
I don't know what I said how-tos, but like you know what I mean. You go in YouTube rabbit holes. And it's
water
like,
suit.
I really wanted to wear a nose thing for this episode, but we don't need those.
We're not on Arrakis.
We live in Florida. There's a lot of water.
You almost need one of those suits to watch these movies, though. You have to pee halfway through. It's crazy.
Nope.
Sure.
They're too long.
No, I have a normal bladder that works.
Proud of myself. I didn't have to use the bathroom at all during this
I didn't
movie.
go, but I was just like, man, it'd be nice if I could just recycle this water right now.
I did sit down in the theater and go, yeah, I should go use the bathroom.
Yep.
Well, what about you then?
I'm gonna give it a hit. I feel like that's obvious. I also like the first movie more. I think I would give the.
I don't think it's that obvious.
All right. Fuck you. I would give the first movie a 9 out of 10. I would give this one an 8.
Yeah.
For me, so I feel like the first movie followed the book closer. As far as an enjoyment level, there's something that you cannot recapture with the second movie in that you're reading the book and then you are seeing visually things like ornithopters, the shields, crysknives, the sand worms, Harkonnens. Like you're seeing all this stuff visually for the first time after having read it. You can't rebottle that and make that
You can only
happen
do it the
again
first
with
time
part
once.
2.
Yeah.
And then with part 2, you can only do it the first time once. And then with part 2, like again, all this cool religion stuff and politics, and it was a watered down version for film, and the book was just so much better. But 8 out of 10, great movie. I think it's legendary. I think we will remember Dune in a similar way that we remember the Lord of the Rings trilogy. As far as masterpieces, masterful film adaptions, incredible epics, and genre defining
performances, the scores.
I feel like
everything.
I feel like you get one of these every couple decades, and we got it with Lord of the Rings, and we got it here. And I feel like with television, we got it with Game of Thrones.
What'll be the next one?
More Dune, dude.
Roadhouse.
We gotta finish.
You gotta finish Dune first.
Yeah, not
right.
Roadhouse.
Yeah.
So no, yeah.
Do we have time for 2 more things, or are we rushing?
No, I mean we got to do hot points. But what do you have?
Oh hot points.
Let's do hot.
Well, I was gonna say real quick. I thought it was interesting. This is the kind of movie you can't like some movies you can watch a character and kind of emulate them when you leave the theater. You can't really do that with any of these characters. You can't really be Paul.
No, you can't be a
leave the
Messiah
theater.
figure.
Yeah, you can't like. It's just impossible. And the other thing that I literally laughed out loud. Yeah, I laughed out loud at the phrase "family atomics."
Yeah, that's funny.
That for some reason that got me, and I was like breaking. I was like, it's kind of like family jewels. Like it's also like a pride thing. It's a family. These are the family atomics. Yeah, but I also thought it's kind of analogous to nuclear family. Yeah, which is a normal thing. But why does family atomics make me sound? I was like, nuclear family sounds like somebody that grew up in the Chemical Valley.
Well, it's funny. It helps juxtapose the cultures because Gurney Halleck is all very much like weapons, warfare, allegiance. Yeah. And the Fremen are all religion, tradition, tribe. And it's very like it kind of, we have that juxtaposition in the first movie because we're going to Arrakis from Caladan and we're seeing everything be different. And we kind of bring it back with, oh, this is what once was. It's cool.
For some reason, I thought like when they wake up and they hear the explosions happening and what it is the Harkonnens
nuking the siege.
I thought that the Fremen like somehow went and were like blowing up the bombs so they couldn't use them. That was my first thought.
That would have blown up the planet.
Blowing up the whole planet so they can't use them.
And that's like when Paul threatens to use the nukes to blow up all the spice fields. That was like, oh, this guy has thought about things because no one will be able to space travel anymore, and he'll also like ruin the Fremen. Kind of. So it was like, hey, I've got this nuke button. It's kind of like real life. Great. First country that launches the nukes, the world's over. So yeah, it's cool. No, good movie. Again, I posted on Threads my three word Dune review is read the book, and I stand by it. It's very good, but man, the book's better. Not to be one of those book nerds, but shoot us, River.
You have been one of those book nerds.
I don't often read.
You don't. Well, that's kind of half true.
But this one...
You're going to watch it in IMAX, though, too?
I don't want to see it again because I'm really tired.
I do want to see it again.
It's a lot.
I don't know how different it would be, but it was... I don't know.
I feel like a second watch,
really
I'm going to process everything more and just understand the whole of the story more.
I mean, rather than... like, I came out of the movie not wanting to watch the movie again. I came out of the movie going, I got to restart that book. I got to read it again. And then I got to go on to Messiah and then Children. And then there's actually another trilogy.
I didn't realize there's anything outside of that original book.
I think there's 6 books.
Cool. So they could do another movie. That was the other reason why I was like, Paul might die because this is just the end of the book. Oh. But I was wrong.
Nope. We actually have less deaths in the book because Thufir's alive still. All right. Hot points?
Anyways. Hot points. I mean, I don't have a lot to go.
Hot points.
So I was so focused on paying attention to the movie because so much was happening. But I will say that a good chunk of why I like watching this movie is because I just like watching Timothée Chalamet because he's beautiful and I love him. And I like a nice, thin, lean man.
Valid.
So, when the first movie came out, everybody was like, "Ooh, Oscar Isaac. Ooh, Jason Momoa." Too buff. I'm not into it. Chalamet. So he gets to join the full 10 club.
Ooh.
Which is now 3 people. And they all have swoopy hair, so I like some swoopy hair.
Heath Ledger?
Mine's not
swoopy. The other one?
Heath Ledger's the other one.
Wow. He seems like more of a departure, though, Timothée Chalamet, from the other two. They don't seem they don't strike me as lean as him.
Timothée Chalamet, like the other two, you can picture like splitting wood, not Chalamet.
Yeah.
But
I think I find him
sensitive.
more attractive in this character versus in real life.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's kind of, grimed up, being tough. In real life, he's wearing like weird like rubber suits, and I'm like, that kind of detracts some hot points. So
Perfect 10.
Perfect 10.
There you go.
Put him on the wall.
there you go.
Well, I don't want to talk about Dune anymore.
He's done talking
I'm
about
really
it?
I
tired.
don't believe you.
We'll talk about it for another 30 minutes.
I've
once we're
spent the
done.
last 3 weeks plus just swimming in the books and movies. I do want to watch the 80s Dune movie.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Someone on Reddit said that the 80s Dune movie does a better job of world building in 20 minutes than the
I just
Entire
can't
first
believe
movies
that's. I
did in
can't believe
5
that's
hours.
true.
so.
I just
Well, and Steven refers to the 80s Dune movie as a fever dream because apparently an overwhelming majority of that film is like what we got in the first movie. And then it just rushes through the end stuff. So I'm really interested. I have seen some clips of it, and the way that they depict the shields is hilarious.
my dad loves it.
They look like Roblox people. It's very square because we couldn't computer generate curves yet.
Nice.
It looks like trash. So no, I'm really excited to watch that. Steven loves it. Her dad loves
Dad
it.
loves it.
It's got Jean-Luc Picard's in it, so Poggers.
Sting.
Sting is Fade Routha.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to watch that.
It's crazy.
We gotta.
I think we should do it for the pod, but give it a couple weeks. What? I can't remember what our next movie is.
I think our next movie was Blade Runner.
Oh, yeah, I had it written down
Because it
somewhere.
was
Carl,
Blade
can
Runner.
you look it up?
Then
Give
Well,
me a
well,
moment.
unless you told me
don't
to
give
say.
them the
Smart
whole.
yourselves.
Don't give them the whole month.
I'm pretty sure.
We're doing a couple more big movies this month, and
Big
one.
gloss. Well, if it's Blade Runner, it's another Denny.
Yeah, another Denis Villeneuve. Or
I
however
wasn't
you say
even
his
gonna
name.
try to say his last name.
It's very French Canadian. I think it's. I think you're right. I think it's Blade Runner.
I think it was Blade Runner.
Because you're out
Yeah,
the
I
third
think
week.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
when we're doing the other movie that we know what it is, but we're not going to reveal it yet
Ooh,
with a special guest because she's out. So
I'm gone.
more Denis. God bless it. More Blade Runner. Maybe you'll like this one.
We'll see. Ryan Gosling's
It's got
in
Ryan
it,
Gosling in
so
it. That helps.
That helps.
The better Ryan.
Oh,
False. Poot. You get a poot for that. That's a poot.
Reynolds is right behind him, to be fair.
No, Reynolds is number one, dude.
He was in some trailer for a new movie, but I can't remember.
If.
What
it
it
looks.
Both of them
bad.
actually.
Imaginary Friend. I'd watch
Yeah.
the heck out of that just because of the
Oh yeah.
cast.
That's
I want to
true.
watch Fall Guy,
I do too.
and I'm
Okay.
excited about the new Mad Max. Although I don't know for sure if it's gonna be a trilogy or what. Like,
Who knows? It can't be as good as the first one, which wasn't
That was
good.
really
Well,
good.
it was great to look at. The
It's fun to
plot,
look at, yeah.
There's not a plot.
I just like looking.
You can fit that
Yeah.
plot on a post-it note. All right. Well, I don't want to talk anymore.
All right.
That's Dune.
There you go. That's Dune.
You know, tweet us. Don't
We
tweet
doing
us. Watch us. Follow us everywhere. Come in Discord and talk about Dune. God bless America. Holy cow, I'm tired. We're gonna watch Blade Runner. We'll catch you in the next one.